what was your preparation like for this event? Obviously, there's been some work with the Garage 56 car, which looks great. Not sure how much that helped with this Cup debut. But obviously, when you go out and qualify and beat literally almost everyone right out the gate, that's huge. So there must have been a great level of preparation that team, made possible for you, I assume, right?
Yeah, I mean, they did a great job. They were, as soon as the deal kind of got done like 2 weeks ago, like I was getting emails all the time with old onboard footage to kind of start studying, like dash setups. Then, Wednesday of race week, I was finally able to get the chop through my seat, do the sim, do some pit stop practice, kind of understand how the pit stops work. It's way different from what we're used to. We're used to the pit speed limiter, not watching the lights down pit lane. So, there were so many little details just to hit, not even the driving part that I was stressed about. But thankfully, the car was super strong. Obviously, the speed came easily at the beginning of the weekend, but I think we both talked after the first session or I guess you had a little different issue on the first session with the brakes, but I mean, the car just felt like out of control to drive. I felt like I was just hanging on for dear life in that first session. And honestly, had no idea what was going on. But once we got to qualify, the car felt more normal and the speed came. But these things are definitely different animals. I think the Garage 56 thing, everyone thinks it's a close correlation, but talking with Jensen and Jimmy who've driven that car too, like Jensen had my approach, like, all right, this won't be too bad jumping into this thing. And then it was just eye-opening how different they were.
Well, you mentioned that it was kind of a whirlwind for you all of a sudden, but then you go out there and qualify the way you do. Were even you surprised at the quick turnaround for you there and figuring it out?
Yeah, I mean, we've always seen how much guys struggle when they come to Cup, so I was obviously terrified coming to the weekend. I'm like in the best car that anyone's been able to just jump in. So if I'm not performing, it's obviously the driver. So like the team is going to bring a good car no matter what. So I was worried that, we'd be way back in the pack after first practice. We were in the top 10, which I was like, that's crazy with how out of control I feel. So the car's definitely got speed in it. And then when you go to qualifying, you've got like one lap to do it. And I'm like, well, great. I've got 9 laps in the Cup car. Let's see if I can nail one lap to kind of make it in the top 10. And we did our one lap and we were third, and we're like, we should probably go for a second one just in case. And we got up to second, but I think we hurt the tire a little bit. So I think the car was super strong. Like if I was up to speed a little bit more to nail that first lap and make it in that top 10 shootout, I think we could have fought for the front row, which would have been insane. But like the car just felt more normal to me when we got to qualify. I could push it and kind of knew what it was going to give back to me. So once we ended up fourth, I was like, shoot, like that stinks. Like we had a good car. We probably could have been on the front row, but looking back now, like early before the weekend, if you would have said, you'll qualify fourth, I'd be like, whatever. So looking back on the weekend, I'm pretty happy with how that all went. The race was a much different story though.
Yeah, it was funny because our garages were right next to each other, and after the first practice session, like the way you were describing things, I was like, oh, he's probably back with me, like I was last. And then I didn't even, we don't have a television that displayed the results, so I didn't know where anyone was. And then I saw on the internet, I was like, oh, Jordan was in the top 10. I was like, okay, now I'm confused. Like, am I supposed to feel like it? Like I just drove through some weird rainforest and things were bumpy and it was crazy. I don't know. But that was very hysterical. But you're exactly right. The pace jump in qualifying is a lot. Like the times from, let's say, the free practice to qualifying was a lot. And like even me, like I really wish we could have run a second set of tires like in that first session, because even us, who not quite maybe the same area as you were when it comes to speed and potential. But, we picked up like 3.5 seconds from one session to another.
Yeah, holy
And then
cow.
I was like, that second run again, like doing a second run in qualifying, you pick up another 4/10. But it's like, man, if I could have done that, let's say on lap 2 of the new tire run, maybe that might have been a little bit more. So it's amazing that, again, both of our first ever NASCAR qualifying sessions. But man, you did a great, I think that like the stats that you were the best, road course racer, the best like first ever race qualifier since like Boris said back in like 1998 or something is an astounding statistic. But when you line up for that race, right, and you're, boom, great spot, we're looking ahead, we're race car drivers, we've been doing this a long time. I mean, how did that first stint go for you? Because I haven't seen the first part of the race yet, but was it a little bit muscly right out the gate? Like, was it a little bit aggressive right out the gate? Or was it the changing of the balance between, let's say, car being full of fuel and, a little bit sloppier maybe? Did that affect things as well?
Yeah, I think pretty much every variable that came into play was a negative for me at that point. Like, we went green, and I was like, before the race, they're telling me, toe links are probably the weakness of this car, so be careful of side-to-side contact. I'm like, all right, it's a 3 or 4 hour race. Let's just chill out here and get into a rhythm. And by the time I got to turn 8, I'm still too wide. Turn 9, I'm off the track already and just getting shuffled back, trying not to make contact. So I think guys knew that I was going to be a little hesitant and cautious, and definitely took advantage of that. So once that kind of shuffling started going the wrong direction, it just kept going there every restart and getting pushed around and guys taking advantage of it. So I made a couple of driving errors for sure early on in the race, but yeah, I think just the lack of aggression from my side didn't do us any good.
Now, I also heard on Denny's podcast as well, Denny said that you were hitting people too. Well, do we have any comment on that?
I mean, once I started getting slammed around, I about had enough of it. And we were like 3 or 4 wide into 11, and Denny was like 20 feet off the track, and I was 10 feet off the track, and I'm like, all right, you better lift because I'm not giving you room. So he tried to get back on track, and I'm like, no. And he was bouncing through the grass. And then once he got back to me, smashed me off the track. And then I probably hit him back again. But at that point of the race, like, my spotters were telling me, like, elbows out, you gotta get aggressive here. We're getting towards the end. So yeah, every time I wouldn't hit someone would hit me in the back, and then I'd hit someone in front of me. So it was almost like if you weren't just attacking people, you were getting attacked. So I kind of went on the offensive at some point and was, getting a little tired of it.
I love it. Did it feel like, in a way, I don't know if you have any older brothers or anything, but like, if you're around the older guys when you're a kid, they're kind of they're kind of shoving you around a little bit, and then you finally have to like take your stand, and like maybe they'll come back and beat your ass again, but at least they know like, hey, he's not playing anymore.
Yeah, I tried that stretch. It didn't really work out.
Is that what it felt like on track with all that, or what?
It did, yeah. It did feel like that. It was like, yeah, they're all bullying me. They know that I'm the new kid. I'm this little guy coming into their playground, basically, and they're going to push me right out of it. And they definitely did at the beginning. And then once I kind of tried to rough them back, it was just like, it felt like it just kept increasing to this insane level of just contact. Like, I honestly have never had, I had so much, like, more contact in a 4-hour race than my entire career combined, like, even combining into like go-karting. So the level of contact was crazy. And every time you go into turn 1 on a restart, you're just kind of bracing yourself for some hit from some direction. And, you're 5 wide in the middle, getting smashed from sides and the wheels getting knocked out of your hands. So yeah, it's definitely a different style of racing that Conor and I are definitely not used to, but I think having that experience, we definitely treat the race a little bit differently next time when it would go green.
There was one moment, I think I was already on my couch, one maybe cold beverage that wasn't a water in. I was watching on my couch in the trailer, and they cut to one shot. I think this is towards the end on one of the final restarts, but they cut to a shot of the turn that was covered in dirt. It was like turn 8 where it was all covered in dirt. And I think you just literally drove directly into the back of someone and spun them out. And I don't know who it was, but I was like, oh man, Jordan just absolutely eliminated that guy. And my mother's watching with me, and she's like, oh my goodness gracious. But it was like just one of those quick shots that they were about to pan away, and you happen to just get in there, slam, like right in the back of this guy. And I was like, let's go. I was like, Jordan's tired of this baloney. Like we're getting into it. I mean, I think honestly, starting from the back, I saw a lot of this, right? And I saw Jensen get muscled out of the way at the beginning. Like, he was literally, it looked like he was driving the wheels off that sucker, like sliding it around, but people were just moving him out of the way. I wish, because it did seem like if people actually gave you a little bit of room and there was a little bit of respect, you could actually race those cars quite well. Like, They did go side by side through the corners. Like we saw with Tyler Reddick and William Byron, like you could do that. Like maybe there's a little bit of rubbing, but I don't know. I think from my standpoint, and again, we're always going to get treated aggressively because we're outsiders, right? Like we get it. But I just wish it could have been a little bit better, like just a little bit less, I guess, chaotic. And I mean, the fact that the cars can survive that much too. I mean, that's got to be part of it.
Yeah, I mean, the hits that I took were insane of how hard you hit front to back, and I'm like, this car must be destroyed. Like, honestly, I've never had as hard of hits in my life, and I got out after the race, and it's just scratched. Like, it's not even dented. And I'm like, that is just crazy. But, yeah, like, to your point, like, I was battling at the end, like, Corey LaJoie restarted in front of me, and I, like, touched him in the back, moved him out of the way, just, like, got him a little loose. Went down the inside, and then like I was just talking to him about it. I'm like, yeah, I thought that was a great move. Like I wasn't smashing him out of the way. I moved him out of the way. We get to turn 9, and bam, he just knocks me right off the track. He's like, that's kind of what happens if you move someone out of the way. I'm like, but like when I think about NASCAR racing, I think about the bump and run, door-to-door racing, not like smashing. So for me, there's definitely room to, like the cars could race so well, like you said. Like if you do the little bump and runs, if you do like those sorts of moves, like not big hits to just push guys out of the way, the racing could be really good. And I feel like it was like that a little bit more at the beginning of the race, but when it got to the end, I think everyone kind of had enough of the aggression and it was out to just kind of kill everybody.
I remember sitting down with you at the driver's meeting. You're like, I haven't even got to be in my trailer yet. Like, was it a bit hectic for you as like the Cup Series level of media activities or sponsor obviously you're driving for literally the biggest team in the sport, like the most dominant team right now, I would say. So they clearly have a lot of partners and a lot of things going on. Tell people what it would be like compared to, a normal sports car race day for you, right? Like, because the Rolex 24, big deal, right? Le Mans, big deal. Like Sebring 12 Hour, big deal. But there seemed to be a bit of a different level of just activities before the race.
Yeah, I mean, I probably could have looked at the schedule a little bit closer before that. I didn't realize like the whole 2-hour period right before the green flag is just like nonstop. So I'm like, I wake up in the morning, I'll chill out. Like garage is only open at whatever time. I'll just go to the track, have my breakfast, get into a little routine, do the team meetings, and then like we do our team meeting, and they're like, all right, like you need your suit on, like we're getting going here. I'm like, oh, I still got to like eat lunch, go to the bathroom, like do all the basic things. And I'm like, I haven't done any of this stuff yet. And then we're doing like Chevy display meet and greet. We're going to the UniFirst suite meet and greet, straight to the driver's meeting, straight to driver intros, straight to like the national anthem. I was like, we'll probably go to the driver's meeting, grab some lunch, go to intros. And I didn't realize like it's just one after the next. And then I remember I got to the driver intros thing, and I'm like, hey man, like I got to go to the bathroom still. Like, when do we go to the bathroom? Like, you better, like, go right now, because once you start this, like, you're not going anywhere. So, yeah, it was intense. And I think with it being, like, my first race, I still had so much stuff in my head. I'm like, I still got to remember all the pit stop procedures. Like, still haven't done a pit stop yet in NASCAR. Like, which lights am I looking at on the dash not to go over the lights? And which way do I turn the wheel during the pit stops, like, while they're changing tires? And brake fans, like, all that procedural stuff is, like, in my head. But once you start all this meet and greet stuff, like that's all gone. And then once you've kind of put your helmet on, you're trying to remember like all those little points that you were really prepping for the past week.
Yeah, it's really hard, like getting in something new. There's so much that you're, because like me getting in an Indy car, right, and you getting in whatever sports car you're driving at the time, like we get it, like this is second nature to flip this switch, do this, whatever. But like when you get in something new and you're like, boom, you're going out to compete right now at the top level, and you've had one practice session, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of things in those cars, brake fans, different fans, lights, and, dash pages. No pit speed limiter. What was it? What was your first pit entry? Like, was there a little bit of caution? Was there like, oh man, like, how much, and especially, remember pit road was like covered in smoke the first time too, because they'd blown an engine in pit lanes. Not only can you not see anything, but you're looking at your lights and you're like, well, I hope there's no one in front of me because it's just covered in dust.
Yeah,
the whole pit lane.
cow, the pit stops are insane. And like everyone gets pit stop speeding penalties. Like even all the regular guys have been doing it for 25 years. So you're like, how am I not going to get a penalty? So yeah, we pull in that first time. I'm like, all right, I better do like 25 miles per hour just to be safe. And thankfully, I had someone like somewhere in my window so I could kind of follow and judge a little bit off of. But
Yeah.
I was like, all right, lights, like don't hit that guy. Lights, don't hit that guy. Like, where's my pit box? So you're just like, holy cow, there's so much going on. Then there's 4,000 boards going down the pit lane. You're like, what number am I hitting? I'm like, I'm thinking
They all
number
have
9.
lights.
Yeah.
Like everything's got an LED panel on it, and it's shining
Like,
at
not
you.
even-
It's crazy.
Yeah, you're not even sure what color it was, and then you finally get there, and like, holy cow, I better not smoke it right through the box. And
Yeah.
they're like, you need to hit it in like such a small window, like as close to the edge of the box as possible. The jack man's like this insane jacked guy. He's like,
Yeah.
you don't stop long, man. It's gonna screw up our pit stop. I'm like, holy cow, I'll try not to, man.
Yeah.
I'm here to win the race too. Don't worry. But yeah, it's intense experience.